Okay, so area is the amount of space a flat surface takes up. The units are squared. And that's because it's literally how many little squares take up that whole space. So for the units, like if it was centimeters, it'd be centimeters squared, inches squared, square feet, etc. Okay. If you have a rectangle, the formula for area is length times width. If you have a parallelogram, area is base times height. For a square, all the sides are the same. So it's side squared, which is really kind of the same thing as length times width. And then for triangles, traditionally it's 1/2 base times height, but I know that sometimes fractions can be a little bit intimidating. So if you want to look at it, you can look at it if base times height divided by 2. If that's easier for you than thinking in terms of fractions, you multiply the base and the height and then divide by 2.
Does it have to be squared?
Yes, when you're talking about area, the units are always squared. So if you think length, it's just units, like inches, feet, meters, and then area is always squared because it's literally, it's all the little squares that make it up. Because they wouldn't actually be that small.
For the area, the little area note, can I put always squared in it too?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now here at the beginning, if you leave off the units or the units squared, I'm going to take points away from that, but I'm going to put a note like, hey, don't forget to do this, because as we progress through the course, that's the kind of thing that'll start to lose you points. So, you know, at the beginning, it's just going to be like a big, like, hey, no, you know, note where I put, don't forget your units. But you want to get used to doing it. Okay, your numbers are probably different here too, right?
And 4 inches and 10 inches.
I don't know why I wrote the 4 over here. Okay. All right, so area of a parallelogram is base times height. So that's 12 times 5. So it's 60 square feet. In case you're wondering, where does this half of a base times height come from? If we look at this parallelogram, if I cut it in half, it's 2 triangles. So that's where that actually comes from. So a parallelogram or a rectangle cut in half is 2 triangles. So if base times height is the area of a parallelogram and a triangle is half of that, it's half of the base times the height. So we can do it using either of these formulas. So I can either say 1/2 of 10 times 4, or I can say 10 times 4 divided by 2. Whichever makes more sense to you. This is half of 40. This is 40 divided by 2. Either way, I'm going to get 20 square inches. Okay, so radius is half of the diameter, and pi is 3.14. So then we get to the area of a circle, pi r squared. Now, sometimes you have like mnemonic devices, phrases, words, things of that nature that will help you to remember formulas or order of things or whatever. You guys have heard those before? Yeah? Okay. I have a really, really silly one for trying to remember the area of a circle. It says pi r square? No, pi r round. Get it? Pi r square? Huh? Sure. Okay, so first to find the area of this circle, I need to find what the radius is. So I'm going to take 12, I'm going to divide it by 2, so it's going to give me 6 centimeters. So my area is going to be pi r squared, so that's 3.14 times 6 squared. That's 3.14 times 36, which is going to be 104. Okay, so then we have the radius here. We already have it. Yours is different, isn't it? I didn't even think of that.
3 centimeters.
3.
Oh, no, 3 inches.
Okay, 3 inches. So we're going to do area is pi times the radius squared. So that's 3.14 times 9. It's a very small 9, sorry. So that's 28.26 square inches. Volume is the amount of space a 3D object takes up. So anything that's three-dimensional has volume. And the units are cubed. Okay, so that would be like inches cubed, centimeters cubed, feet cubed, etc. Okay. This shape, anytime you have something that looks like a box, it can be a square box. If it's a perfect square, it's a cube, but if it's any kind of other box, it's called a rectangular prism. A cube is also a rectangular prism, it's just a special one. So anything that looks like a box is a rectangular prism. That's the name of it. Okay, and you have length, width, and height. So to find the volume, we multiply length times width times height. Okay. Here we have a cylinder. We have a radius and we have a height. So the volume of the cylinder. Okay, these don't have units on it, and I think they're really small on your paper. So this is, we'll just say 5 inches, 4 inches, and then this one is 3 inches. Okay. So to find the volume, we're going to length times width times height. So it doesn't matter which of these is length, width, and height, because we're multiplying them all together. So 5 times 3 times 4. So it's going to be 60 cubic inches. Okay. Remembering that volume has a cubed on the units. And here, I know your picture came out way too dark. Sorry. But your radius is 8 centimeters. So we get 3.14 times 8 squared times 15. So 8 squared is 64 times 15. So this is 3014.4 centimeters cubed. Okay, so surface area is the total area of all of the surfaces. Okay, so here, if you have a rectangular prism, you have the front, the back, the top, the bottom, and the two sides. And if you have a cylinder, you have the area of the top, the area of the bottom, and the area of the part that wraps around. Okay, so for rectangular prism, the surface area is 2 times the length times the width, plus 2 times the length times the height, plus 2 times the width times the height. Essentially what you're doing is length times width right here is telling me the area of this bottom piece. But I also have the top, and they're the same, so I have 2 of them. And then when I do length times height, I get the area of this side, but I also have that side, so there's 2 of them. And the same with width times height gives me the areas of the front and the back. And then there's 2. So that's where that came from. Area of a cylinder, what you end up with is you have the 2 circles, one on top and one on bottom that you have to find the area of. And then you have the area of the part that wraps around. And has anybody ever taken the label off a can?
The what?
The label off of a can?
Yeah.
So it's a rectangle, right? So what you find is if you find the circumference of the circle, that gives you the length of the rectangle, and then the height is the height. So that's where this formula comes from. We get 2 pi r squared, that's for the 2 circles on the top and the bottom, plus 2 pi r, that's the circumference, times the height. So this is the area of the 2 circles, this is the area of the part that's wrapping around, because it makes a big rectangle. Okay. So like I said, the surface areas are the more complicated of the formulas. Everybody got these? I say everybody, all 5 of you. Okay, so we'll keep these the same. We'll do inches. Okay, so my surface area is 2 times the length times the width plus 2 times the length times the height plus 2 times the width times the height. Now it does not matter which of these is length, width, and height, but you want to label them so that you make sure you put them, that you don't use the wrong number more than twice, or you don't use any number more than twice. You want to make sure you only use each number twice and that you put them together in the right places. So I'm going to do 2 times 5 times 3 plus 2 times 5 times 4 plus 2 times 3 times 4. So then this is 30, that's 40, and then this is 24. Right, because I get 10 times 3, 10 times 4, and 6 times 4. So 30 plus 40 is 70, plus 24 is 94 inches, and it's surface area. Sorry, I didn't put that on there. Let's go back. Okay, on surface area, it's area, so the units are square. So we have 94 square inches, so that's the total area of all the surfaces of the box. Okay, for the surface area of the cylinder, okay, I have 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Okay, my radius is 8. And my height is 15. So I have these 2 different things to multiply out. 3.14 times 2, 6.28, and then 64 squared, or sorry, 8 squared is 64. 2 times 3.14 is 6.28. That's 120. So I get 401.92 when I multiply these, 753.6 when I multiply those, and I add them together. So I get 1,055.52 square centimeters. That's the surface area.